Hi, this is Mr. Evans. This video is going to look at the impact of growth and or retrenchment on operations, and we're just working through the different functional areas that AQA needs us to know about here. So it's always worth, when we're thinking about the impact of growth and retrenchment on different functional areas, it's worth coming back to how we measure actually the performance of these functional areas. And these are all measures here, ways that we can measure the performance of the operations department within a business. So it's important that you're aware of all of these, and obviously you know how to calculate the ones that have got formulas. So I'll just leave you to have a look at them for a second. And I thought I'd talk about this, the impact of growth and retrenchment on operations, in the context of a merger that took place in 2017 between PSA, who are the car group, the French car group, who own Citroën, Peugeot, and I'm not entirely sure what that brand is actually. I always thought they were part of Citroën, but they're a French car group, and they in 2017 bought two brands from General Motors. They didn't buy General Motors, but they bought two of General Motors brands, Opel and Vauxhall. And so these are obviously in the car industry. So what impact might this growth? PSA grew by taking over these companies. How would that have affected the operations? Well, there would have been the impact on capacity and capacity utilisation. So I'm not 100% sure how many factories these two organisations have got between them. I couldn't find that out. But I know that there are a number of factories across Europe that PSA and Opel Vauxhall operate. Now, a few of those are operating at under capacity, and those factories will be able to be closed down, and the manufacturing that was going on there can be taken on at other factories, and therefore this increases the capacity utilisation. We are selling off our underused assets, and it improves capacity utilisation, and therefore should reduce business costs. So that could be a consideration about growth on the operations department, and will have been a reason that PSA looked to take over Vauxhall and Opel. There's going to be the impact on supply chains and logistics. So if you look at mergers and acquisitions in the car market, like VW, who own the Seat brand, the Spanish Seat brand, and Skoda as well. Basically, they use the same engines in the VWs, the Seat, and the Skodas. And so the PSA will be able to do the same thing. They'll be able to use the same engines in Renaults, Citroëns, Vauxhalls, and Opel cars. Now, this is going to give them quite a lot of buying power with their suppliers, because they're supplying that many more engines. So in a way, it simplifies the supply chain. That they're just dealing with fewer sets of suppliers who they can negotiate better deals with. In terms of logistics, it's getting the parts around to the different factories, which could be difficult, but these are all things that would be considered by the operations department. There's likely to be an impact on labour productivity and labour cost per unit. Okay, these brands will be able to share the technology that they develop or that they buy. They'll be able to buy better technology more cheaply. It should have a positive impact on labour productivity. And they're able to do things like benchmarking, where you look at the best performing factories within the group and you say, well, what are we doing there to make the labour productivity at this factory so high? Whereas this Vauxhall factory, the output per worker isn't quite so high. What do we need to do to bring up the labour productivity in these underperforming factories? And finally, quality issues will be considered. They might look again in terms of benchmarking. Which cars have the fewest faults? Which cars get the fewest returns? Which cars require the least servicing after they have been sold? And then they can look to improve quality across the business as a whole. And so these are all considerations that PSA would have made about their growth, their external growth, by overtaking the Vauxhall and Opel brands.